You and then we're going to keep it moving.
Yeah, I have different, I'm not talking about specific things. I think in our meetings, we should avoid attacking people or directors personally. It creates ill will. Second, I think we have experience in the past that when we talk at the board level, we haven't got any far. This is experience of last 14 years, not 1 year. Every board has done, and we have cried, signed. So my suggestion is, let's start at the tower level. Let's make small groups at the tower level and meet the tower directors who are chosen and see what they say, what they explain. And that is it. 1 second. That is the information we will gather and become the information available to us. From there we can move on.
Good. I want to just point out again, we are going to, I think we're combining, which is great, we're combining action steps that we want to take and what we want. This first step is only things that we want, and then we're going to actually have an interactive discussion about how to make that happen. And it sounds like we're combining some good ideas and action steps, but let's just try to focus first on things that we want.
I think from the bigger picture, a couple of things. One, this board, there was no minority and majority up through the end of December 31, 2007. A board minority and majority started taking place following 2008. What we really need, in my opinion, is consistency. The pendulum seems to be swinging from one side of the clock to the other. We're not following a strategic plan. We're not following the plan that's been put in place that we can execute over a period of years, because it takes too long to execute a plan. We need to put one in place and get things done.
Right, cool. Okay, so let's keep going. But again, I'm asking again, I'm repeating myself, I know. I want, finish that sentence, please. And then we're going to get to this, I promise, we're going to.
I want an exit and an entrance on River Road. I'd like to receive a monthly email from the board attached to which are monthly financials and the status and cost of ongoing projects. I'd like to see the cement around the outside pool repaved. I'd like to see the external signs updated and fixed and refurbished. And like everybody else, the driveway, the calls, carpet, and lower maintenance.
Good, so a lot of, practical. Anybody else here at this table, quick? We're going to try to get as many people as we can, and then we're going to move on to the action.
I wrote that I would love to see the 10-minute parking in our driveway enforced. Our driveway has unfortunately become a public parking for patrons and people that just want to enjoy the view as well as our private park.
Great. Okay. Yeah, great, thank you. I want...
I think board should inform all people who live in Galaxy what they are doing, what they are going to do. And in spite of, I talked to manager a few times, and she never explained what's going on in garage, when it will be opened by garage and it's building to closed for 2 months or 3 months, and they don't do anything. They have to inform, update.
So yes. You want better information and follow through, is that what you're... Yeah.
I want Sandy restored to the FAC. I want the board majority to include all members of the board in terms of communication, execution, and decision-making. And I want the mini park to be restored to its potential of loveliness.
Great, thank you. Anybody else here want to share? Good, okay. We're going here and then we're going to here. I want, what do you guys want?
I want open communication between board directors, management, and unit owners for the improvement and safety of our homes and community. And I want people in management and directors positions that I can trust.
Great, thank you. Anybody else here? No, good, yep, thank you.
I want greater respect for all our property.
Okay, 1 minute, here we go, yep.
Okay, for all our property.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
I want greater mutual respect, okay, for all our property, plus a clean, safe environment. That's, we're talking about the board, but it's also amongst
Absolutely.
all owners, renters.
Yes, could I answer? Yep. Well, you done? Yep, good. What do you want?
And I think I just want to add to that, and this comes to the community that's created. For some reason, I've been here for 10, 12 years, and that mutual respect, it's, the place is not being treated by the people who live here, and I don't know who they are, but it's just falling apart. The floors, the halls, everything is not being respected.
Good. We're going to talk in a bit about how to make some of these things happen.
Watch out, it's almost
Yep,
out.
we're at the end. You got it.
Oh, hi. I would like to see the bylaws changed so that the process is set up so that people cannot subvert everything. So everybody on the board gets the same amount of information. There can't be little subdivisions as I've seen since I've lived in this place. I think ways have to be, we have to identify and find ways of devising increased transparency, and we need to find rules for the board not being able to take out random loans or spending enormous amounts of money without the say of the owners.
Great, thank you. One more, it's only one more. No.
I would like to see this place become a more affordable place for us to be here for as long as we choose to be here. It's not affordable.
Yep, great. And we're gonna finish up, and then now we're gonna move into the, yeah, one second.
I'd like to know how each member of the board voted on each, on each thing that they vote on and why they voted that way. Also, enforce the pool indoor temperature regulations in fixed glass to the outside.
Great, thanks. Last one?
I
Oh.
want to add to that.
Yep.
Okay, I want to see cleanliness in the women's locker room. And I'd like to see, I'd like to have enforced the rule that the workers can't go in and out of the pool area, especially in the winter, and keep opening the doors.
Great. Last one, and then we're gonna move to the next section. What do you
I
want?
want less politics in this place. It bothers me so much, basically, and all, whatever everybody else is asking for.
Great. Okay, there's a couple other people wrote, I'm not sure who did this, but I'm just gonna quickly read. I would like our elected board members to take time to speak to owners individually or in groups. I would like them to actually answer emails and questions from owners. I do not want board members who say to my face, don't talk to us, don't even say hello to me. This is not how board members should conduct. I want a board that will take, somebody else wrote, I want the board to take the time to keep up-to-date communication. Sorry, I can't read the rest of your writing. I want no versus us versus them, respectful, diverse opinions, less ego from the president, more collaboration, understanding that our current situation is a problem that dates back many years, and no longer ineffective, ego-driven board members. Now, here we're at now. So here's some of the things that we all want. And a lot of it is all very similar. I mean, what always goes on is that we think that there are two different sides and we want different things, but in general, we basically all want similar things. We want our property values to go up. We want our maintenance to be lower, or at least understand where it's coming from. We want our finances to be run properly. We want the building to look like a luxury building. We want better communication where owners feel, I mean, we can come up with the best ideas in this room and outside, and then if they're all ignored, it's pretty useless. So we need it, it goes to the process. Say we come up with solving cancer here today, and then you'd send it to a board that is not listening to that or is not going to enact that, then we're nowhere. So what we're talking about is some deeper things about process and culture that we need to change here. So now, that's all great, these things that we want. So now how do we make that happen? The way it's going to happen is we need to take action, individually and as a group. So now I'm going to actually just put it back out to you guys. I want to just hear now some ideas. The best way normally to go forward now would be to pick one thing that we want, whether it's driveways or building, and then focus on all different ideas, but we don't have the time to do that, or that this is not the setting for that. So what I'm going to do now is I want to ask people, what are some ideas that we can do as an individual, that you can do, that you're willing to, and then also that you're willing to do to change things around here. It's great to say, I want this, I want that, but if we don't take action, I'm sorry, nothing's going to change.
What's required?
Wait, and then one thing I'm going to interrupt my dad and be rude to him first, so that I can do that to everybody else. No shouting out, Father. All right? Everybody, if you want to speak, we are going to have it controlled and respectful, and raise your hand. And I may cut you off again because we want to keep it moving. But I'm really asking, what are you willing to do, and what action can we take for either one of the things that was just mentioned, either deep and what are you willing to do? I really want to know what you're willing to do. So we're going to start here and we're going to work around and try to keep it not about a story about your personal or the past, but again, action-oriented, one thing or many things that we can do. I thought he was coming to hit me. One thing or many things that we can do to solve any of these things that you can do as an individual. Yeah.
I'll take a second.
No.
It seems everything that's been discussed here goes back to the makeup of the board. So the question is, what are we going to do about revamping the board?
So let's hear some
That's-
ideas.
that's the
What do
big
you want to
question.
do? Yeah. Right. Yeah.
I have
Again-
an idea.
Okay, we're going to go. So yeah. So let's stay on maybe one topic at a time. So it goes back to if we want to change, if we want to incorporate and have things changed around here, it needs to change something with the board, the way it's working, the way it's happening, the people. I don't know. So let's actually talk about some ideas that we can do to make that happen.
My question is similar to that.
Okay, let's hear your question and then we'll go there.
What do we have to do, or what has to be done to change the bylaws of the Galaxy?
Yeah, I don't know about that. Does anybody know about I don't know the details, but okay, so let's, again, stay on action. So I don't know the answer to that, so.
It's going to be almost undoable to do that.
Okay, I think it probably takes if something has to be proposed and it takes a vote and something like that. But again, let's step back to changing the board, or changing, what was
My question was, how do we create a board?
Yeah.
More consistency, we don't need a minority, and a hard-working board that's just pulling together.
Yeah, good, I want to hear ideas. Not even ideas, but things that we can do to make that happen. And willing to do, yes.
Okay, I'm not speaking for FYI, I'm speaking for myself as an owner. I think changing the makeup of the board is an excellent idea, and I don't think we can wait for the election, so I see two things that we can do. One is we can identify possible candidates who will stand for the board in the election coming up. But previous to that, my personal feeling is that we must ask for the resignation of Joe Purcell.
So, we have about 15 minutes to have this group discussion. So I want to know, here's an idea that came up in terms of asking for a resignation. I want to get a sense of hands of how many the people want that, not want that. People want to change I'm going to ask one thing before you raise your hands. It's very easy to raise your hands, but are you is that something that you really want and you would stand behind and try to make happen? Who wants a resignation of some of the people on the board? And I wanted to say one more thing I wanted to say is that we actually met with some board majority members, and some of them had said to us that if we have a group of people, of 200, 300 people who do not want them on the board, that they would step down. Now, I don't know. They also said that they were going to follow up and do 3 or 4 different things that they didn't follow up and do, so I don't know if they would stand by their word, but they did say that to us.
Did you put that in writing back to them?
Yeah, I will do that. So, we have, but okay, again, a show of hands of who wants action in terms of changing the board as, okay, it's a good majority. So now it's, what has to happen to make that happen? What has to be done? Yep, thanks.
I think you have a institutional systemic problem, and we're not addressing
Me or all
that.
of us? I think all of us.
All of us.
Okay.
We need to develop the step process to address the issues. You need small group meetings within the buildings, on the floors. You need to identify people who have specific skills, lawyers, accountants, writers, whatever you need. You need to establish policies that you want changed, not just go in and say we don't like them. You need to rewrite them. Having managed a nonprofit board for 12 years, you can bring 500 people in there. They are not resigning. They think they're sitting on the GM board. This is status, this is ego, this is a power center. I think that right now you need to prioritize your goals. I think Appleview is a critical issue for the entire place, and find out, where the community stands on this. If you want to unseat the board, you've got to create a power center of your own that's positive and not antagonistic, and really put people out there that stand for something, not just against the board.
Yep. Great. And that's what we're trying to do here. It's not about, the GM who we know lied to us, who lied on her resume. There were so many different issues that we were seeing over and over again. It's one thing to have somebody have her out, But what we need to do as a community is we need to create a system and a process that when we get a GM in here, that we can set them up that they succeed and not fail. But we don't have a system in place to do that. And the only way we're going to have that system in place, I think, is, this is again not for the group, but me speaking, is if we have a board that is trying to make that happen. So I want to just talk about a couple things. One second, and I'll get to you. I want to just try to stay on one topic and then we'll go to the next one. But one of the things that came up first was about elections. So I mean, we talk about people on the board, and one thing I do want to say about the board is they have stepped up and they are volunteering their time. That doesn't mean that they're doing a good job or we shouldn't question their decisions and but they have stepped up. I'm curious, maybe it's rhetorical, how many people here are willing to step up? Or how many people here are willing to talk to other people to step up? Yeah, it's easy to say, but until we have people on the board, new thinking, new way, we're going to have the same culture that we have right now. So basically, I'm putting it out there. You know, it's easy to say, and I know it maybe was, you said what we have to do, but it's really not about what we have to do. It's about what we all have to do if we really want to change anything around here. And so I'm actually just putting it all back out there for people to start talking to other people. We need new ideas, new people that are willing to run on the board and to change the dynamic.
Are you willing to raise your hand?
Pass the microphone to you, please.
Yep, Eugene and then Heather.
May I say something?
Yep, you're next. Third. No, not yet, not yet.
The only way we can restore confidence in the board is for the two Drashev family members to get off the board. Either get off the board voluntarily or get off the board, and I hate to use the word, by recall. It is unheard of in the United States, in any deliberative body, for people to vote or discuss a matter that concerns a close relative. No judge would hear a case involving his father or father-in-law. Yet we have that on our board. Now that's the judge. But in parliamentary procedure, if you're on the board and a matter comes up involving your father or your father-in-law, Barbara Drashev's father, Joe Purcell's father-in-law, you do not discuss it and you do not vote on it. Legally, you have a right to discuss it and vote on it, but you recuse yourself. You voluntarily abstain. This is a gross violation of democratic procedure when these people don't.
So the question for all of us is, what do we do about it? The question for all of us is, what do we do about that? Yeah.
I just want to make the comment that I want to make it clear that we are making every effort, and we're learning as we go. This group, FYI Galaxy, you know, you make a few mistakes, but you learn as you go. We are trying to make an effort, not just to change the board, but to change the consciousness here, and we're trying to do it with the consciousness we want to create. It's very hard, it's very challenging, and sometimes in our rhetoric we still sound like we're doing an us and them, but only because we're getting so much pushback. And one of the reasons we need your help is to get behind this consciousness with us and move with us. I also want to just point out, look around you and see where there are board members here today. You're going to see two of them, Nancy Angren and Richard Miller. Where are the other board members? These are the board members who are representing us and working for us because they're here.
Yeah, wait, Myra and then Luke.
Okay. I'm getting off the subject of the board for a minute.
So I'm going to interrupt you in a bit, but go ahead.
Okay. I have a suggestion how we can make the building better.
Great.
And hopefully increase the prices for apartments. We used to have a Sunday morning walkthrough where people were assigned different areas and they would point out what was wrong with the building, like lights out, torn carpeting. I don't know if anyone else remembers this, but this was very helpful. and I think it should be reinforced.
So, we having some ideas here, I'm going to you next. We're having some ideas here, but how do we make it happen? Yeah, we're coming up with the ideas, but the only way is if everybody here and others are talking to the board and saying, here are some of the things that we want. We have a list of questions to send to the board, emails, talking to other people, but the only way, I'm sorry, the only way we're going to actually have any change is if not only our group, but everybody stands up and takes actions, talks to other people, has individual group meetings, 10 people, 20 people in your apartment, not about personality, not about if you want to have a beer with somebody, but about each issue and what can be done about it, and then we communicate that to the board.
Scott?
Yep, you're
I just have a quick question. Did you invite the majority of the board members? You told them to come to this meeting, and they said no?
No response.
Okay. The other thing is that the problem is not this board. It's been going on forever. I've been living here for 18 years. The lobby looks disgusting. There was, I don't know how much, millions of dollars with a lawsuit because of the ego of the prior board, and that's the only reason why these new people are on, and I supported them because I didn't want that system. So we have to understand that this is an endemic problem, and no one wants to run for the board because everybody's nasty. I saw some of the nasty emails directed to the people who dare, like you said, step up.
Yeah.
And it's just, you have to change that culture.
Yeah, so let's talk, and again you said, we have to change that culture. I think we have to change that culture. Yeah, and I think that's true. I think that's what it comes down to. So I'm going to ask you again to think about, and it's not only for here, but how can we change that culture? Yeah, it's one thing, and I know I'm preaching a little to the choir that you guys are at least the ones who showed up here and are showing up, but how do we change that culture? One way is if you hear us versus them, which happens all the time, and people go off of the issue, they try to attack an individual instead of focusing on the issue to bring them back to the issue. That's one way. But yeah, I'm going to just throw it out there to think about how do we change that culture.
Change the board.
That's it. Here and then here.
I'm sort of new here, and changing cultures, I think you have to change yourself first. Because the culture is made up of every individual. And as I've gone to a few board meetings, I mean, I just want to commit suicide when I leave because of investing so much here and feeling hopelessness when I leave. But I came out today because if I don't come, then I can't keep blaming somebody else for the issue. So the culture changes if you say to yourself, I'm not going to care about what happened 5 years ago. It has happened since I've been sitting in this room. When people were talking up there, people started talking back here, a little yabber about other things. What did happen, snide, laughing. It has to start with us. With me, I'm going to take me. I'll say it has to start with me, but if every individual at least says to themselves, I'm not going to participate in bringing any negativity to the room. I know it's a little thing, but it turns into a huge thing when everybody in this room starts taking responsibility of themselves. Because otherwise, if I say it and she says it and 8 more people don't, it'll just continue to be what it was.
Yeah.
So that's my solution.
Yeah. And also, whatever it is that got you to come out, we need to understand what that is and share and get other people to do the same. The only way everything that we're saying here is completely useless unless we all, as individuals, act upon it. And everybody can do that in a very different way. Some people could be writing letters, some people could be talking to their neighbors, some people could be as simple as soon as you hear somebody attack somebody on a personality instead of on an issue is to call them out on it. Somebody can do it by having a meetup in their apartment. It's different ways, but the only way real core cultural change is going to happen is if we have a group of people at the board who want that and then owners who work to make that happen. 5 more minutes and we're going to wrap up.
I just want to point out to the room and to you, Scott, that in 6 weeks petitions will be available for the next round of elections. So now would be the time to start thinking about who those candidates are going to be and who would be supported, because you got 6 weeks to figure that out, to get the petitions in and then signed.
Yeah. No, it's less than that. It's actually this week. I think it's in December that they're out.
December 1st.
Yeah. And again, hopefully we'll start seeing some, it's hard to get people to step up and step out when they see the culture and what's been going on around here. But hopefully if we're all acting as individuals and changing the culture and starting to do that, that would encourage more people to get a little bit involved. They know that they're not alone, that there's a lot of people behind them that will be there to support them, that they're not running by themselves, that they're not going to be on the board by themselves, that there's going to be a whole team behind them.
Yeah,
we're going here and in there. Yeah.
Following up Alan's point and the general point on culture, we need to find the right candidates, and candidates can come from all different backgrounds. That's not the main factor, but the main factor really is the ability to be objective and the ability to be rational and analyze and to be fair. And the problem of cliques that Alan alludes to that has become very dominant on the board for many, many years now is a function of lack of dissent within each clique. You need people to disagree. Disagreement is healthy, and you need rational discussion to get to good results. I've seen certain board members disagree and change sides on things, which is great. Nancy's been a great person of that. She came in pretty much on, it appeared on one side, and she's really not on a side. She's making decisions on her values, and that's what we need to do. We need to find candidates with conviction.
I want to bring up one more point. I want to bring up a point about Appleview was mentioned in terms of what we, because I'm very disturbed about the politics that is happening with Appleview, in that right now we have, they didn't budget properly for it for this coming year. We have a higher expense. We have an expense coming up for next year, and we're hearing, and I think they voted the board to approve an assessment to owners on this particular one line item, which they don't do with anything else, even though most of the expense is for the following year. And we have other expenses that are higher over budget, and like energy. And it feels like it's just such dirty politics. And what we kind of want as a group is to have it, if people think that there's something that's not accurate about information that's presented, let's have a dialogue about it, let's talk about it. But dirty politics about trying to make people have to pay a higher assessment when we're overall for the year under budget, when there are other expenses that are higher, it's kind of what we're trying to change with the culture. It's just dirty politics. It makes no sense whatsoever. So I'm just going to put out there a question, what can we do about that? So one idea we also talked about meetups is having, separate meetings about certain topics. And I know the Land Use Committee had a meeting about Appleview in terms of presenting information, but I'm kind of curious about who would be willing, and again, please don't raise your hand unless you're really willing to do that, to actually show up at a meeting about proactive solutions or getting information about Appleview. Is there, yeah, okay. Yeah, so that's one thing. What about a smaller group meeting about only devoted to finances? Who would want to show up for that? Okay, okay. Somebody else was next, Natalie? Okay, great.
I want to commit myself to being at every board meeting whenever I'm here. I must confess that I did start out doing that, and I think it was the month of October. I just couldn't do it anymore, and that's my fault. The other thing I want to commit myself to is when I come to the meeting, to come with positive energy and not speak out negatively or cause divisiveness. That's not my role in being there. And I must confess that when I was at the meetings, I was negative and I was divisive. So I pledge that I will not be. And I encourage everybody, since the board meetings are in the spa, we can just go right down the elevator and sit in a seat.
Great. We're going to go to Judy, Sean, and then I'm going to wrap it up. Yes. So, yeah. So, again.
I think you're missing a big potential here.
And by you mean we, right?
FYI, because I think, yes, collective view. But I'm talking specifically about FYI because not everybody here are members. I think creating subcommittees to take on action projects that the board until now have refused to address, like the bylaws, I've been on the board, so I know quite a bit about the bylaws. There are other people who have been board members, so they know quite a bit about bylaws. Let's get a subcommittee together and work on the bylaws and present the revised bylaws to the board and say, put them to the lawyer and get the lawyer. We can also do that with hallways. Do we have a couple of designers in the room? Let's put our own plan together for the corridors. And let's do our own walkthroughs. Let's not wait for the board. Myra's right. That's a life safety issue, and we should be doing it on our own and not wait for the board. Because if we wait for the boards, it's not going to happen. This has been from when I was on the board. We didn't reinstitute walkthroughs. So let's FYI do that.
Great. And for a lot of the recommendations that people are having, the only way that they're going to happen, I mean, we have great ideas, but is if some of them we can do ourselves and some of them we can do as individuals, but we also have to get the board on board. And the only way we're going to do that is if we have enough people that are speaking up as a group. Again, we've talked about, I mean, you've talked about it. It has to be in a respectful way. We've tried everything. We tried speaking at a board meeting, we tried individual, and we're not getting any answers. So I think the only way that it happens is if we kind of unite as a community and as a group, and there's more and more people. We have hundreds of people that are concerned about one issue, other hundreds of people about this issue. But the real core thing goes to the culture, about being a process and about a way where ideas can be shared in a way that's respectful. And that's not, and don't get me wrong, that's not an easy thing to have happen. But it's not going to happen if we don't start to try to make it happen.
That's right. Scott.
Yeah. Sean and then you, and then we're done.
Just one of the things that I wanted to talk about was that, you know, one of the things when I started to just go on my own fact gathering mission was that you know, most of the people that I spoke to felt overwhelmed by the amount of information that we were trying to get out to folks, and the most effective way that I found communicating with folks was the most time-consuming, which was face-to-face. And I grew up in a condominium complex, and it was 800, 900 units, and there were 3 sections, and each section, you know, governed themselves, and they had representatives that were responsible for a common area, and by breaking it down into a smaller group, it was more effective communication. And you know, I think that, you know, Rex had made reference to that before. By having a smaller group and facilitating conversations within your own tower, speaking to the people who you see in your own building. I mean, I think that's ultimately, at the end of the day, face-to-face communication with the neighbors that you see walking in and out of your building. That's going to be the best way to mobilize or activate anybody or motivate anyone to get involved who feels like there's no use in doing that. And also, you know, we happen to live in a community that has tremendous resources. You know, there are a number of people here who head up organizations, who have tremendous professional profiles, and I think that that's one of the things that's just not really being tapped into. You know, and I think that one of the things that we can do is evaluate and update best practices, you know, here for the way that we hire and the way that we manage. And by putting together a task force or consulting group made up of owners who have particular professional specialties. You know, I'm a headhunter. I'm somebody who's in the executive recruitment field. You know, I work with Fortune 100 companies. I would happily volunteer my time in providing some information that relates to the way that we hire and vet people. And I'm sure that we could find 3 or 4 other people who could do that. You know, it's just try to take advantage of the resources that we have within the community that could better the community. And I think that's a start.
We're really going to wrap up right after that.
Okay, number 1, Natalie and I are volunteering to co-lead a group in Tower 3. If you live in Tower 3, please come and see us or communicate with us in some way, shape, or form before or after you leave. But we will start a group in Tower 3. If we can get somebody for Tower 2 and Tower 1, great. Number 2, we are all allowed to have copies of the bylaws and the governing documents. If you don't have them, I suggest you go and get them and look at them.
They're online.
They're online. Oh, so that brings me to number 3. Here's a specific need that we have for FYI Galaxy owners that will really be of help to everyone in the community. We need someone to help us put together a website where we can put a clearinghouse, website, stationary place online for all this information that people can write to and go in and draw resources from. So if there's nobody in our group that is technologically, well, we're all technologically challenged is the problem. So if there's anyone in the group that knows how to put just a basic website together, we could really use your help with that. Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna wrap up now. So where are we? So we've heard today about some of the things that have been going on. We've heard about what we've accomplished as a group by standing up, even though we've been criticized for doing it. We've heard about what's been going on with our finances and the current board. We've heard about other current issues that we're all facing. We've all shared or thought about or written down some of the things that we want. Again, nothing changes unless we change it. It's not an easy thing to do. You're going to get resistance to people who are used to the status quo, the way things have been, but it all starts with each one of us as individuals. What can we all do? So basically, I'm want to leave it at that and leave it to you to think about. What are you willing to do to really change things here? If it's nothing, then we deserve what we get. It's that simple. You're not alone. There's a lot of people who want to take action but don't know exactly what they can do or how they can do it. What people can do is, some of the things we talked about is have individual meetups, show up for board meetings of a topic on a particular issue that interests you, show up, talk to other people and try to get new ideas for people on the board willing to run. I'm not sure. It could be something very different that you want to do, that you're capable of doing. It could be as simple as talking to friends face to face. Like we said, we're willing to talk to anybody at any time face to face, and we have. And that's the way things, that's the only way things can change.
Board meeting is Thursday.
Board meeting is Thursday.
Yeah, what?
Scott?
Yeah.
Scott, the board meeting is Thursday.
The next board meeting is Thursday. We have back there a list of questions that I'm not sure some people wrote up. Read them. If any of them resonate with you, ask the board to give you answers to that. Talk to other people to make sure we get answers, and don't be satisfied until we do. And, talk to other people you know who might be willing to step up and run for the board. We need new blood, new ideas, new people.
It's coming up fast, people. And there is nobody stepping up.
Yeah, get emails from people that are not here, talk to them. But anyway, thank you all again for coming. It's only as a community that we can make any change whatsoever. There's more gaming, coffee, food.